Hi, you are welcome to GMats class. And let's look at the following questions under bearings and distances. The bearing of turn X from turn Y is south 60 degrees east. What is the bearing of Y from X? Now, to answer this question, a point must be located first. It's either X or Y. So how do I know the one to locate first? Now, one determines the other. For me to know the position of this X, I must know where Y is. Alright? Now the question says the bearing of X from Y is south 60 degrees east. So that means I need to know where Y is. That will give me the position of X. So the first point we are locating now is point Y. So this is point Y. And the direction of X from Y is on south 60 degrees east. So this is the east and this is the south. So 60 degrees. So this is going to be point X. And the angle here is 60 degrees. So the bearing of X from Y is south 60 degrees east. The bearing of X from Y is south 60 degrees east. Now let's look at what the question wants us to do now. What is the bearing of Y from X? From X, so I will go to X and take the bearing. Now when you look at this, the angle here is alternate to this angle. This angle here is alternate, so this place is 60 degrees. Alright, which happen to be the bearing of Y from X. So from the north pole down to the line that is connecting the two. Alright, so now this is north and this is west. Okay, so the bearing of Y from X will now be north 60 degrees west. That is the bearing of Y from X. Now, before we solve the second question, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do, and also comment. Thank you. Now, let's look at the question. Point P and Q are 24 meters north and 7 meters east of R, respectively. Now, what is the bearing of Q from P? What is the bearing of Q from P? Now, when you look at this question, what determines position of P and Q is point R. So, because we are told that P is at the north of R, Q is at the east of R. Okay, so now let's have point R. This is point R here. And this is the north of R, this is the east of R. So point P and Q are 24 north, 24 meters north. So let me locate point P. So this is going to be point P here. Point P. Okay, so that's point P, which is 24 meters from R. And also Q is what? 7 meters in the direction of east of R. So 7 meters. So this is point Q, which is 7 meters. Okay. All right. So we want to get the bearing of Q from P. Bearing of Q from P. So we need to join the 2 points together. So we join it together. Okay, so the bearing of Q from P is this angle here. Is the angle here where this is the north pole of P. So we get the angle here. All right, so how do we do that? So let's get this angle here. Let's say this place is theta. Let's get theta. How do we get that? This is the adjacent and this is the opposite, since this is the reference angle. So we have tan theta equals to opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. Since these are reference angles, so this will be opposite and this will be adjacent. That is 7 over 24. Okay, so tan theta will be arctan of this. So we make use of our calculator. So what is 7 over 24? 7 divided by 24. 7 divided by 24 gives 0.2917. Okay, so you can find arctan of that. So finding arctan of that, so you press shift or second function of your answer. So arctan of 0.2917. So that gives you 16.26 degrees. So 16.26 degrees. All right. So now, what we want to get now is the bearing of Q from P. So we start from the North Pole down to this place. We know from the North Pole to the South Pole of P is 180. So we just subtract this from 180. So bearing of Q from P will now be 180 degrees minus this angle, this small angle we have here, 16.26 degrees, and that gives you 163.7 163.7 degrees. So you can correct that to the nearest whole number. So, and that is going to be 164 degrees. Okay, so that is the bearing of Q from P. All right, so that is the solution. Now, I want you to try this. Find the bearing of P from Q. The bearing of P from Q. Just follow the same procedure and let me have your answer on the comment section. Thanks.